3 of the Audit 2023 ATD paper. Let's start with the first part. A. Amani Limited is a company that supplies pharmaceutical products. The company has been your client for the last 5 years. The company recently transited from the manual operations to computerized work environment. This has also initiated changes in the audit process through usage of computer-assisted audit techniques. Explain 4 advantages of adopting a computer-assisted audit technique in auditing. Explain 4 advantages of adopting computer-assisted audit techniques in auditing. Now, these are just the first thing that should come to your mind is that this is an IT question, and we are talking about the advantages of adopting technology. And we know what technology has done. Technology has come in with a lot of benefits. We might just want to start from there before we now narrow down to the computer-assisted audit techniques. But technology generally has led into cost reduction. It has also, this is effectiveness. It has also led into efficiency. It has also led to enhanced security, especially through the use of passwords. It has improved on accuracy and reliability of the data. It has improved on timeliness, because we always talk of real-time data. These are just benefits that will come without necessarily having gone straight looked at into the computer-assisted audit techniques. But if we narrow down to computer-assisted audit techniques, we will still be mentioning this. These are the overall advantages that come with adoption of technology. It's very important that you have that broader view before you can now narrow down to the computer-assisted audit techniques. But you can see we already have the advantages with us of adopting technology in auditing. Of course, all this will come as points. So let's now narrow down to computer-assisted audit techniques. What are some of the advantages? Of course, increased efficiency stands out. Efficiency is where we get the most with the least possible time and smooth flow of activities. That is expected when we talk about computer-assisted audit techniques, and this is because we are talking about churning large volumes of data within a shorter period of time. The shorter period of time comes about when we compare, doing the job manually and automating. Of course, manually will be slower. Automating the whole function will be faster. So we expect to churn a lot of, or rather voluminous works when we are talking about computer-assisted audit techniques. So voluminous work will be churned out within within short time frames. Okay, then we also talk about of course, accuracy and reliability. These ones will come without saying. Accuracy, because now we are talking about minimizing the human access to data. Human access to data, chances are very high that errors will also increase, because humans, they are prone to errors. You never know. Sometimes somebody is thinking about other things while he's working, and in the process, we end up with errors. Unlike the computers, which in most cases will capture the data and continue working with that data for as long as it takes. So the fact that machines are the ones using this data once you feed in, because the human element will come in at the point of feeding. But also today we have now machines that will also get the data by themselves. So you can see that one basically improves the level of accuracy And of course, reliability will also definitely come in. If accuracy is high, then reliability will, people will also rely on that particular information. And that means that we are most likely going to have reliable audit results. Reliable audit results as the outcome. Then we also have, of course, we've talked something about voluminous work. So we can say it has helped increase or expand the scope of analysis. The scope of analysis. And computers can really work on so many things at the same time and give you so many reports that left to people will not be able to, to generate such like reports. Computers will be able to see or to put the same data in different forms so that you can clearly see and compare the information or the data that is presented, so that you have a different perspective, you have different views of looking at the same information. That is very important, especially when we are making the decision as auditors of a certain job. So it increases or expands the scope of analysis, and then it also enhances. Now we're talking about the CAAT. It enhances the risk assessment. It enhances risk assessment. It is better. It will give you better results than the humans, especially since it analyzes data across various systems, and it also has so many data analytics techniques which will enable auditors to see potential risk with a lot of certainty. And of course, we can also, this same computer-assisted audit techniques can also help extrapolate the data so that you are able to see the future with some level of certainty. And by such doing, you might be, assessing the risks that are possibly yet to come. Of course, we've talked about data analysis. Yeah, it provides better tools for data analysis and comprehensive testing. Then it also leaves an audit trail, which we said is very important, especially to know who did what, and that ensures responsibility and accountability, and also just to be sure that indeed the audit work was done. So audit trail will also come in as one of the advantages of computer-assisted audit techniques. It leaves an audit trail behind. Then through the same system, we can also monitor and evaluate so easily, because everything is in the computer. So it becomes very easy to compare what we expected or the ideal situation versus the actual situation. It becomes very easy. So computer-assisted audit techniques have also helped in easing the whole process of monitoring and evaluation, and it has enabled that aspect of continuous monitoring of the audit work. So these are just some of the advantages. These are general advantages, and all these are correct, but we also have other advantages like these ones: to expand scope of analysis, enhance risk assessment, leaves audit trail, maintain and also supports monitoring and evaluation. So just pick any 4 of these and you'll be good to go. Then question 3A2, propose 5 factors to consider when using CAATs. Number 1, 5 factors to consider when using. So 5 factors to consider when using computer-assisted audit techniques. Number 1, the scope of the audit. Consider the scope of the audit. How far will this CAAT go in terms of covering the scope? What can it cover and what will it possibly not be able to cover? That should be a factor that you really need to consider. How far will the computer-assisted audit technique go in terms of covering what you're supposed to cover? Will it be comprehensive or will it just cover a part of it? And if it's just a part of it, how will you cover the remaining bits? How look at the audit objective. Will the CAAT be able to achieve the objective that you so much want to achieve? Because sometimes it might be, yes, it is helping, but it's not able to deliver on your objectives. So is it in a position to deliver the objective, the audit objective, what is of interest to you? If it's not in a position to deliver, then it means that it might not be a good technique. So look at the objectives and see if the computer-assisted audit technique is aligned to your objectives. Then, of course, look at the data availability, accessibility, and quality. Data availability, accessibility, and quality. Yeah, you are the one who has the data. Is the data in a form that can be understood by the CAAT? Is the data available in a form that the computer-assisted audit techniques can use? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. So yes, we want to use the computer-assisted audit techniques, but is it compatible with the data that we have? So consider the availability of data extraction tools, the interfaces between the data we have and the computer-assisted audit techniques, and So that is very important, and if the computer-assisted audit techniques can be able to use that data to generate the audited reports, those are some of the factors that you need to consider. How will the computer-assisted audit technique, fare in terms of accepting the data that you are going to feed it? Are they compatible? Because you might have the data, but it's not in a form that the computer-assisted audit techniques might be, configured to work with. So that is also very important. Look at your type of data and the quality, and if that will go hand in hand with it. Then risk assessment and materiality. Risk assessment and materiality. What do you want out of this whole audit process? And can the computer-assisted audit techniques help you to get what you want? Is it possible? Is it able to assess the risks? Does it work within the material levels that you want? You want your audit work to be pegged on? Those are some of the questions that you need to ask. A good computer-assisted audit technique should be able to assess the risks and should also work to be within the material levels that you consider relevant. So consider the risk and materiality threshold relevant to the audit, and this CAAT should be able to identify areas of higher risk of materiality and advise the auditor so that you can take now the possible actions out of it. So is the CAAT able to guide you on the levels of risk, and the materiality. Is it able to work? Give you the materiality levels that you so much want to work with. So those are some of the questions. Of course, we also have the audit trail. Audit trail, does it leave an audit trail behind? We said it's important for this audit trail to know who logged in at what time, who logged out at what time, what did he do. So for security and safety purposes, it's also important that we go for a CAAT that possibly can leave an audit trail and the necessary documentation. That go with this, and this is for security purposes. So again, data security and privacy, you might want to consider this. Will the CAAT keep the data fed into the system private? Does it have the capacity to prevent unauthorized access to your data? Those are key questions that have to be answered. And what about the user friendliness? Is it user friendly? A good CAAT possibly should be user friendly. So check if the CAAT in question is user friendly. Check if the CAAT in question is user friendly. Then of course, integration with the audit, plan or methodology. Does it integrate with the audit process? There's something that we are going to do. Is it working hand in hand, or is it not? Maybe it's not compatible. So those are some of the questions you need to ask yourself. And then, does it also allow professional judgment that is objective? Yeah, does it allow professional judgment that is objective? And is it in line with the professional skepticism that is desired? Because for audit, we normally talk of professional skepticism. So does it also observe that feature? Those are some questions that are very important for you to answer or to consider when choosing which computer-assisted audit technique to go for. So look at the scope, look at the objective. Is it in line with the objective? Look at the type of data that it will require. Is it working within your material levels, and can it also be able to assess the possible risks? Does it leave an audit trail? Is the data secure and private? Is it user friendly? And does it integrate well with the audit plan? If it answer to those questions are yes, possibly, then we might want to go for that particular computer-assisted audit technique. The next question: your firm has recently recruited a team of new auditors under a graduate trainee program. As part of induction, you are required to train them on reliability of audit evidence. Your firm has recently recruited a team of new auditors under a graduate trainee program. As part of induction, you are required to train them on reliability of audit evidence. So present to the team 3 factors that might influence the level of reliability of audit evidence. Present to the team 3 factors that might influence the level of reliability of audit evidence. Now, number 1. Source of the information. What is the source of the information? That is very important. We have the authorized sources of information, and we have the unauthorized sources of information. So if you got this information from an authorized source, then it becomes reliable. But if it's not from an authorized source, it will lack the reliability part of it. Independence level of the source. Independence levels of the source of information. Is the source of information independent from the activities of the organization or the audit? If the source has some interest, then it means that information may not be reliable. I mean, I cannot get information from a party who has an interest in what I'm studying and claim that information to be reliable, accurate and reliable. So look at the independence. Like the banks. Banks are majorly and mostly considered to be independent. They have their, so it's most likely that if I get information of the bank balances from the bank themselves, chances are very high that that information is reliable. So look at the source and the independence of the information we get. The internal controls. Are the internal controls in place? And are they good enough? Internal controls. The levels of internal controls. If the internal controls are good enough, then it means we can rely on that information. But if the internal controls are the measures we put in place to ensure that systems run smoothly, efficiently, without fraud, without, the way we'll actually, that ideal setup. So if internal controls are good and the work of one person is checked by the other, who is checked by the other, then it means we can rely on that information to a greater extent. Then the nature of evidence. If you're talking about evidence, normally documented evidence can be relied upon as opposed to oral evidence. Documentary evidence has a lot of weight. So if you can maybe have emails or receipts, those are considered weightier than just oral confirmations. Objectivity and verifiability. Can we verify this information? Is it objective or is it subjective? Information that is objective, that can be proved, it's factual, it's very easy to be relied upon. If we can verify, very easy to be relied upon, as opposed to information that cannot be verified. Timeliness of the information. What time did we get the information? If we got the information at the right time, it is more reliable than if we got the information at a totally unexpected time period, or if we got the information, like we say that evidence obtained closer to the balance sheet date is normally more reliable than the one that is outdated or obtained significantly after the period. So, what time are we getting the information? That can also lead to reliability of the information or not. Information that is gotten after something has happened, there's something that has triggered that information, may not be as reliable as information just gotten in time. Then consistency, of course, will also affect reliability. Are we consistent? If you are consistent, what was done last year, what was done the other year, what was done this year, the same, then it means that the level of reliability will also be high. I think these are more than enough points. Even the sampling method can also have an impact. Sampling methods can also have an impact on the reliability. Yeah. What sampling methods have you used? Are they relevant? Can have an impact on reliability. If they are not relevant and if they don't capture the greater interest of the majority, then reliability might be hampered or affected. So sampling methods used, and also external confirmation. External confirmation can also affect the reliability levels. If you get external confirmation, chances are very high that that information is reliable, as opposed to if you don't get external confirmation. And the assumption here is very simple, that these people are independent, and so they are likely to give you the right information. So just pick any three from that and you'll be good to go. Highlight 5 duties of an external auditor. And I believe this is the last question, last part of this question. Duties of an external auditor. So number 1, financial statement audit. Audit of the financial statement. Audit of the financial statement. Financial statement. That is his key duty, to audit the financial books of accounts, and of course express his or her opinion if they are they present the true and fair state of affairs of the company. Then also do or check the compliance audit, that is compliance to the external parties. External parties, it can be external parties or internal parties, but mostly we talk of external parties, the KRA, NSSF, NHIF. How have you complied with all this? And it's very important. It's part of the auditor. It's part of the expectations of the worker, that the auditor checks on the compliance of the companies in terms of meeting their regulatory or statutory expectations. Then, of course, we also have risk assessment. Risk assessment. And the main reason for risk assessment is to try and unearth all the possible risk exposures, so that measures can be put in place to ensure that we don't have those risks, or we mitigate those risks before they occur. And in most cases, we talk about the fraudulent risks, misappropriation. They need to be in a position to assess those risks and put measures well in advance, so that we don't have such risks occurring in the future. Audit planning. We have this audit planning, and the main duty when it comes to audit planning is to ensure that they have a favorable environment in which they can now do their work comfortably and generate an opinion. So it's not something that they just go and do a rush and affected here. And no, it's something that they need to plan and understand the scope, understand the timing, the nature of the audit procedures to be performed, go ahead and implement, do the audit, and again look at the whole process of now delivering the audit report to the relevant parties. The whole of that exercise, very important if we are to talk about a successful audit process. So it's part of their duties to come up with an audit plan that will guide them on how they are going to approach the audit exercise. Then, of course, as part of their duties, they need to do a lot of testing and sampling. Is it? Or it can be the other way, sampling and testing. So they sample, they test, and of course they will analyze the data and come up with the audit report. We also talk of internal control evaluation. This is very important to see if they can rely on the data by the internal controls or not. And of course, we've said that they also have the duty of communicating and reporting the results. Communicating and reporting the results. They have a duty to observe professional ethics, and also what we call the CPD, continuous professional development, continuously develop. It's very important that auditors continuously develop by attending to these training seminars and the group. Those are some of the duties of an external auditor. Compliance. audit of financial statements, risk assessment and advice, audit planning, and for compliance, basically they mentioned the taxes, audit planning, testing and sampling, then internal controls to evaluate and to advise and to strengthen, and then to communicate and report to the stakeholders, finally to observe professional ethics and continuous professional development. Thank you. Let's meet in the next question.